I just spent a year of my life incarcerated.
Okay, well, calm down, first of all.
Rod, do you want to get out of here?
Just listen.
Listen to me and do what I'm saying, and we'll get you out of here.
I just want to go home and be with my daughter. That's the whole thing I was supposed to do.
How old is your daughter?
3. Friday, I was supposed to go to my girlfriend's house to go see my daughter. It was like 2 in the morning. Like, that's when my ride came. Cops, they was just like chilling on the end of the block. And then he tell everybody, like, get out the car. So we all get out the car, put our hands on the car. And like, he come back and he like, well, who weed is this? And he was like, you're going to jail for possession of marijuana. And I'm like, how can I go to jail for something that wasn't in my possession? You can't sit 3 people down and walk out a room and come back, a bag of weed sitting there, and you just put it on everybody.
I don't know, Roger. I wasn't there, I can't tell you.
Out of somebody, that's... Dang.
And you're telling me this is money that you've earned in 1 week, 2 weeks, or...
Nah, that's money I had for like 3 weeks. I had more, I don't know what happened to it. I think when the officers ripped me off when they were slamming me on the ground.
Eventually, you're gonna do right.
I miss what you... I am doing right.
I know, but you're right here with us, again.
That's not my fault.
This is not the first time that Rodrick's been here, and usually when a child comes in more than once, it's a high percentage that he will be a repeat offender again.
And I've been here like 3 or 4 times. I did a whole year in boys' school. And that's why I'm so nervous right now, because I don't want to go back there. Like, it ain't nowhere that somebody will want to be.
For the 3,000 kids that pass through Lake County Juvenile Complex each year, the punishments can range from a sleepless night in juvenile detention to the harshest punishment of all, commitment to the Department of Corrections.
Going to Indiana boys' school or girls' school is the most restrictive placement or a restrictive punishment I could give them. Because you lose your freedom, you're in a prison. It's the worst thing I can do to them.
You know, some people, it takes a big problem just to really open their eyes. And that's just like for me, for instance, like I went to boys' school, you know, and it calmed me down a lot. Like if you read my reports and everything about me, like you would be like, why would he be here now and he doing so good? Like, I believe boys' school changed me.
He's done so much better than in the past. He was failing his classes, that changed, grades started improving, started working, and unfortunately, when you hang around with the wrong crowd, you get blamed sometimes for things that you don't even do.
The big problem is me just being here for something that I really ain't do this time.
So they're picking on you?
Because I'm black and I look like a thug and I wear jewelry and I got money in my pocket and they think I'm a drug dealer. That's what it is. They just think I'm a drug dealer because I look at all that, man. Come on, they think everybody's selling drugs when they black, and it's not even like that. I work hard for everything that I got and everything that I accomplished.
Well, it's your job to prove them wrong.
That's what I do. That's why my money's still sitting there, because I got a check for every dollar that's there. No drug money.
You have so much potential. You were doing so much better. You were doing really good.
Yeah, but you're saying it like I'm honestly like was out there like getting in trouble. Like I was just going to.
I don't know what happened.
I was just going.
I don't know what happened. I don't know if you're out there trying to get in trouble. That's what the court system is there for, to determine whether you're guilty or innocent. The fact of the matter is that he's been here more than once. So it is hard for us to believe when they're repetitive offenders.
This is a maximum security facility. These kids will say anything they can if they think that they can get away with it or if they think they can get out.
While most of the kids inside LCJC have one story or another to declare their innocence or why they're in trouble, it's not the business of the staff to know.
There's really no reason for us to know it. Every kid is here to be treated equally and fairly. That's up to the courts and the judges to deal with the crime aspect of it.
After 26 years, you've heard so many stories. I've had so many kids tell me so many stories. And of course, there are those that seemed very genuine. Could it be a game? Definitely. I've been burned before. But there are other people in the courtroom that helped me make decisions, say the counselor that was present, the probation officer helped me. And listening to both sides really lays out for you what each kid has done or hasn't done and the good and the bad points. I mean, at that point, you're in court and, you know, it's the end of the road here. Now it's put up or shut up. You know, you might as well just do it now and tell the truth.
I've been coming to Lake County Juvenile since like 03, 05, between them years, one of them years. Been coming for a long time.
Although 17-year-old Rodrick has found himself back at LCJC on charges of resisting arrest and possession of marijuana, all of those involved with this case mark him as a model student who's working to turn his life around, remove his gang tattoos, and get ready for the arrival of his second child.
You ain't got no time for no games, no nothing. I know you don't want your son living the same lifestyle you live.
No, that's why I gotta do good.
That's what I want to hear.
When I got out of boot camp and I found out that I was supposed to have a child, like, it changed me because like, I got something else to live for. I just can't live for, like, gang banging. And I was just gonna go back to school and complete this last year and get on with my life.
So you wouldn't tell me you ready to leave the streets alone? Done with it.
I was just at the wrong place at the wrong time.
Rodrick is adamant about his innocence. He claims that the marijuana was dropped by another person in the car when they fled.
My probation officer, she told me like a couple times like I've been one of her best like people. If I was doing so good, why would I let some marijuana, you know, mess up my life?
Sure. A lot of the kids that come here, they repeat offenders. And a quarter of them, you lose. They end up dead, burned up on the railroad tracks, murdered, just random gunfire. If you can change one child, then you've made a difference.
These are kids who've seen things and gone through things, certainly, you know, beyond what most of us have ever experienced. So what I try and do is getting the court to recognize that these are still kids, and that kids who've made mistakes, maybe more mistakes than a lot of us are used to, but they are able to learn and rehabilitate. And so my hope and goal with all of these kids is that the system works and that we get them the help that they need so they can go on and at least live a productive life. I want to spend a little bit of time right now talking to you a little bit about what happened, then more specifically about our strategies in going to court tomorrow and achieving hopefully what it is that you want, and that's getting out of here and going home.
I want a lawyer, like, because this is not fair for how you try to put something on me that's not even mine.
Yeah, well, it sounds to me like what happened with you is being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
That's what I see, but a lot of people not gonna see that. And you know, just because I've been in trouble before, that's not gonna help me, because I've been in trouble already.
Well, that's why we're talking now. What I want to do is be able to distinguish what happened before versus all the progress that you made.
You know, now that I'm sitting here for nothing, it made me feel even worse. So, like, why do I gotta go through this? Like, when you try to do something good, it's like bad things come to you and stop you from doing good things. But you know, I ain't gonna let this stop me. I'm still gonna go to school to be an electrician. You know, still gonna take care of my kids, and I'm still gonna be me.
All right, so the point is, they weren't your drugs. They weren't on you. You didn't know that those drugs were in the car.
I didn't know they was in the car.
When the police came, your buddy took off, you stayed.
If I don't have anything, what's my reason to run? You know, I should have went in the house. I wanted to do that, but I'm not that type of person, you know, because I want to show people, like, oh, I'm not no bad person. That's why I went back and just talked to him, but he got aggressive with me, you know, for no apparent reason. Then he thought I was an adult, you know, because I got a nice gold chain. You know, I came in here, nice clothes, and he think I was a drug dealer.
The number one goal that I would have for any of these kids is that they never end up in jail in the adult Department of Corrections. And that's the ultimate goal, is that these kids learn their lesson and never have to face a judge who's worried about how long do we lock this kid up for.
But I'm just gonna pick myself back up. That's it. That's all I can do.
Well,
I don't mean to cry, but you know,
okay.
I'm just hurt right now.
No, I mean, this is not a place you want to be, and like I say, our job is to get you out. And that's the more stuff, Rod, that you can focus on of the reasons why you shouldn't be in here and you should be out taking care of your child. Those are the things that we're going to want the court to hear about tomorrow. Well, Rod, you've convinced me that you're certainly on the right track with things. Now our job is to convince the judge tomorrow.
After a stressful weekend in detention, Rodrick prepares for his day in court by meeting with his probation officer, while his mother sits down with his court-appointed counselor and discusses strategy. He'll have a team on his side, but his history with the courts will not be invisible to Judge Bonaventura.
So this today is your detention hearing. The judge that's going to hear your case is going to look at if there's probable cause to believe that you committed the act of possession and the act of resisting.
Miss Sarah, I feel like I've been working so hard, but and it's the first downfall I had since I've been home.
I know.
And I don't want to mess up everything that I've been trying to accomplish. Cause you know I've been doing too good, Miss Sarah. Even from school to being outside.
And you're the one that said to me, remember what you said to me before your last court date?
I wanted to stay on probation.
Keep me on probation, it's gonna help me out, and that's what we did, right?
But the biggest thing that he's done, that the judge is really going to commend him on, is removal of his gang tattoos.
Yeah, he covered it up.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's an admission that he's turning his life around. He doesn't want the gang style anymore. He doesn't want the gang life. And that was a lot to give up. His respect, his authority, his position within the gang, it's all gone.
It's just I was at the wrong place at the wrong time. Police was like, well, we found some marijuana. I was like, well, it's not mine. He was like, well, somebody got to go to jail for this.
And I told him, certain stuff I can't figure out for you no more. When you get to a certain age, you know, I can't do it for you. You got to do it for yourself.
So what you're saying is like 90% of the time, 99% of the time, he's fine.
Yeah, hey, if Roger could be outside at 2:30 in the morning, it's really not too much outside to do at 2:30 in the morning.
Right. But that 1%,
And
bring him in here. 1% will say, well, I'm going to go out at 2:30 in the morning.
It's consequences. I keep telling them.
Well, like I said, we'll go to court, we'll talk to the judge, we'll let her know how you've been doing, but she's gonna make that final decision. All we can tell her is, since you've come home up until now, how you've been doing. Okay, and that's a good report, that's not a bad report, so we'll have to go in there, see what she has to say, and we'll go from there. Okay? All right.
Today in court, both Rodrick and Morris will find out whether or not they get to go home to await their next hearing. If not, they'll have to remain detained. Judge Bonaventura will make that decision.
There's two reasons why you would order a child detained, whether he's a danger to himself or to others, or there's an unlikelihood that he'll come back to court for the second hearing. And so if you make the decision that they are a danger, you detain them. And if you find that they're not a danger, then you release them to the parent.
Brown!
Tomorrow? Right now, I feel like I'm gonna go home. I don't know my probation officer for how good I've been doing since I've been home from boys' school. So, I may go home today, hopefully.
1 second. You ready, Your Honor? Right this way, Roger. I need you to stay to your left, young man. Go stand next to your attorney.
He actually asked me to stay on probation throughout the summer until his 18th birthday at his last hearing, because he felt that the extra supervision for myself and Mr. Zimberski would really help him get through the summer to ensure that he would be able to stay on the right track. In almost 7 years, I've never had a juvenile ask me for that extra time with probation and with the therapist. They want to get off, get done, and call it a day. And Rodrick actually came to me and looked me in my face and said, can you please stay with me on my case? Let me stay on probation with you so that we can get through this.
Can you be more specific about the level of improvement that you've seen in the past year of working with him?
He had an allegiance with a street gang, and there was a lot of respect that he got with the street gang, a lot of authority with the street gang and position. And recently, Rodrick has terminated his association by removing the tattoos on his arms, which is a measurable feet.
How significant of a step is that for somebody who's been affiliated with a gang to remove the gang signs from themselves?
It's a mind and mental step, a remarkable feat.
Do you believe that it would be safe for him to be released to the care and custody of his mother?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. That's all the questions that I have, Judge. Rod, let's talk first about what brings you here today. You're being charged with possession of marijuana and resisting law enforcement. Are you going to cooperate with the prosecutor's office in identifying the person whose marijuana that it was?
I can do that.
Will you do that?
I will do that, because it's not mine. I'm not going to jail for nothing that's not mine. I've been working too hard this year, sir. Too hard this year. I have improved my whole life. My mother told me a long time ago when I was in boys' school, if I ever in my life, from now to the time I'm dead, if I ever got locked up, she wasn't gonna come and see me. She wouldn't be here now. And you know, I felt that's why I know my mother believed me and she know the truth. That's why she here today.
That's all I have, Judge.
I have a question. Rodrick, have you been having drug tests while you've been on probation?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you pass a drug screen today?
I believe I can.
What do you mean you believe you can?
I believe I can. I'd do it any other time.
Okay. All right, you can have a seat next to your lawyer. Well, I commend all the improvements that you've made in your life, and you've had a lot of people here today that have testified to that. But I wasn't quite convinced that your response to whether or not you could be clean today was, wasn't sure you were sure about it. Today what I'm going to do is order that you submit to a drug test. If he has a clean drug screen, I'm going to order that he be released on electronic home monitor. If he's dirty, then he's going to stay here.
What's it gonna be?
Hopefully I go home.
Hopefully you go home. Did you smoke marijuana the last 30 days or not?
Not that I know of.
Now that you know of, sounds like you're gonna get comfortable here. It's either yes or no. After you know it, what, someone smoke marijuana to you in your sleep?
I'm not worried about it completely. I'm going home.
Rod, brought you a visitor. How are you?
2 weeks ago, Judge Bonaventura sent Rodrick back into detention to await the results of a drug test. After one bit of shaky testimony left her unconvinced.
Can you pass a drug screen today?
I believe I can.
What do you mean you believe you can?
I believe I can. I'd do it any other time.
It was a difficult end to a court hearing that was really going Rodrick's way, and things only got worse when the results came in.
After you tested positive for marijuana, I'm working with the prosecutor to try and get some type of agreement that gets this whole thing disposed of. The prosecutor was originally recommending 120 days locked up here. Here's what. Hold on, hang in there. Hang in there. I want you to get out of here.
But I don't want to be here. Y'all supposed to be helping me. Ain't nobody helping me. Nobody.
Roger, calm down.
I don't want to be here. I just spent the year of my life incarcerated.
Okay, well, calm down, first of all.
Listen to what I'm telling you. Here's what she's agreed to do, and I think this is what we should do. You're charged with two things: possession of marijuana, and resisting arrest. You admit the allegations of one, they'll dismiss the other, and then we can go in there and we can argue to the court whether you should be released with time served.
Y'all want me to admit to something that I ain't even do.
Just listen.
Listen to me, do what I'm saying. I'm trying to get an agreement for you that gets you out of here. You admit to one or the other. If you don't want to admit to marijuana, deny that, they'll dismiss it. You admit to resisting arrest. You never really know until somebody actually walks into court and, and faces the judge how they're going to react or what they're going to say. Whew, okay.
Whatever decision Rodrick comes to in the next 5 minutes will shape his life for months and maybe years to come.
Mr. Brown, you've heard all the testimony today about what people think should happen to you. What do you want to have happen?
I understand I resisted law enforcement. And, you know, me being back there in that room for 2 weeks, that really got to me. And I know I tested, like, positive for marijuana, but that's something I did, like, back in July, and I thought I was going to be clean by the time I came to court.
And I know some people might say, well, just using a little bit of marijuana isn't like, you know, shooting somebody. But at the same time, do you understand the significance of that one use of marijuana, what it had on your family and your life, and frankly, on the underlying charges that you already had pending against you?
Well, I take full responsibilities for my actions, and I just feel like I let them down, you know? Like Miss Sarah and Bob, my mom. I just want to, like, go home and take care of my responsibilities.
Rodrick, do you remember Judge Bonaventura asking you about taking a drug test?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, didn't you say you probably should be clean, something like that?
I probably should.
So you were trying to put one over on the judge, right?
No, I thought I was going to be clean, so that's why I didn't say yes, and that's why I didn't say no.
So you were hoping you were going to get by with it?
Not necessarily.
Well, you knew you were lying to the judge.
Judge,
Well,
hold on. I'm going to object to that. He answered the question. The question the court asked was, would he pass a drug test, not did he use marijuana?
I'm going to sustain the objection.
No further questions, Judge.
I have a couple questions for Rod. You had tattoos removed, didn't you?
Yeah.
And what kind of tattoos were they?
I had gang tattoos, a scripture on my arm. I knew I was gonna do better in life, and now that's why I removed the gang tattoos, because I ain't want part of that life no more. Because, you know, the gang is not here helping me right now.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to tell me today?
Regardless if I go home today or 2 weeks from now, when I get out, I'm still gonna go to school, and I'm still gonna be this positive person I became, because I like the person that I became.
There's a whole bunch of stuff I could say to you today, Rod. I know that it was huge for you to remove the gang tattoo, which speaks volumes to me. After doing this job for 26 years, I'm sure there's somebody out there that has, but no one that I'm aware of that's ever done that and has, you know, sat up on the stand and testified that you've done it, knowing that you're going to go back out in the same city that you were in when you belonged to that gang and maybe take your chances of what denouncing them might do to you today. You're like this close to succeed, and you're so afraid of that it's easier for you to fail. Just think about this hearing today and all this argument about whether you're a good person or you're not. There's only really one opinion in this room right now that matters, and it's mine. And I think you are a good person, and I think you're going to make it. And for that reason, today the court is going to order that you serve 30 days in the Lake County Juvenile Center, and I'm going to give you credit for the time you've served. I'm going to release you today and order you be released to the custody of your mother.
Okay.
May I hug Miss Bob Sombersky and Miss
Sure.
Sarah Essen?
If they want to hug you, you can hug them.
I'm not going to make that request.
Thanks, Bob. That's my first
You
time
like me
ever
now, huh?
hugging you, Miss
I
Sarah.
know.
You know, even though he did test dirty for marijuana and he was arrested, I don't want that to wipe away all the good he's done over the past year, which for somebody like Rodrick is just enormous.
It's the last time I see you, Miss Jane.
That's a good thing.
I made 18 tomorrow.
Excellent. However, don't let me read about you in the paper.
He was locked up for 2 weeks. He paid the price for coming here with a dirty drug screen. I think he got that message. And he needed today somebody to say to him, I believe in you, and I just felt it was the right time to convey that message to him.
If you want to start out, I thought we'd look back first at a case that we felt was just one of the most dramatic we filmed back then, and that was the case of Rodrick.
Yes.
And as you recall, Rodrick was really a unique case because, you know, he had denounced his gang, he had removed his gang tattoos, and he wound up in detention because he was out with friends late at night. Car got pulled over. Police said they found weed, and he was hauled back into detention. Can you recall your memories? And I know this is throwing it back away, a ways, but can you recall your memories of meeting Rodrick back then and how you felt as you prepared to represent him in his juvenile court hearing?
So I remember meeting Rodrick for the first time. I was immediately taken back by how intelligent he was. He was very well spoken, seemed to really understand what it is that had happened to him. And this sounds kind of strange, but he actually understood the seriousness and the consequences of what was facing him. A lot of the kids, when 13, 14, 15, and they come from just a very, very different backgrounds, don't necessarily even have an appreciation for how serious of a circumstance it is that they're in. Rodrick, on the other hand, I think did have that appreciation, which explains a little bit of the, I think, frustration that he had, and maybe some of the frustration I had in kind of getting through to him on what some of the options would be for an appropriate resolution. So looking back on it, it really seemed like Rodrick was actually one of the people who we might be able to do some good for, because he really understood the significance of what he was involved in, and maybe would not want to get involved in it again if we handle things correctly.
Right, right. And can you talk a little bit about how important it is for kids like Rodrick to have someone like you representing them in court? Because oftentimes a lot of kids or families will waive their right to an attorney, or they really don't understand how important it is to have an attorney such as yourself representing them in court. How important is that?
Yeah. So, imagine for a moment that, you're 14, 15 years old and you get, picked up, put in a police car, handcuffed, taken to jail, you're away from your family, you're put in a holding cell, you're with a population of people who are, in jail for whatever reason, not necessarily the kind of place you want to hang out. And you're told you're going to be facing a judge who's going to decide whether you stay there or whether you go home. And imagine now you're 15 years old going through that. And so, it's scary enough, it's daunting enough for an adult to have to go through and face those things. But as a child, for me as a public defender, it was always important, no matter which kid it was I was representing, to make contact with them early and then often during the process, because you really want them to understand that what they're going through is something that has an end point to it, that we just have to get there. I don't want them sitting incarcerated for day in and day upon day, fearing and wondering what was going on. You want to really get to them right away, let them know they have an advocate. Certainly, I always wanted to be honest with them about what they're facing. You don't want to go in and make light of what's going on, or try and underplay or downplay the significance of it. But at the same time, you can let them know that, look, here's the problem we're in. Now here's the solution that we want. And now let's talk about how we get there. So for me, that was always kind of the way I approached it. But it was very important to get there right away, because this is, for a lot of these kids, this has never happened before. So just the whole idea of being handcuffed and arrested and transported and jailed at that age is extremely frightening. And the sooner that I could get in and start trying to move things forward, the better.
In a case like Rod's, where he had been gang affiliated before, he removed the gang tattoos, he denounced his gang, he actually had served a year in juvenile prison, got out before he was rearrested for the possession of weed at the time. Is there ever a thought that goes through your mind, I'm advocating for him, I'm his public defender, that's my job, but I'm a little cautious here, because is he going to get out and get in trouble again? How do you resolve those sort of conflicting issues when you're representing a young person who obviously deserves a second chance, right? That's what the system is for youth, is rehabilitation. But do you ever worry about, them returning back to the streets that got them in trouble in the first place?
Well, specifically with Rodrick, and the first comment with respect to his denouncing of gang affiliation, I think you'll recall that all the people that we spoke to back when we were filming, everybody found it very unusual for somebody to have actually done that, and myself included. Particularly in that area, to have left a gang and tried to turn your life around is extraordinarily difficult and extraordinarily brave. Whatever the reasons were that led him to do that, we don't know, but it happened. And we all know, having done this, that once you're in a gang, the gangs don't want you to leave. The information the things you've seen, the crimes you may have witnessed committed, you have all of that information. So when you decide, I'm not going to be a part of you anymore, that creates enormous risk for the person leaving the gang because of what they've seen and heard and maybe done, or probably more so seen others do during the time that they are with the gang. So for him to have taken that step, it shows that he actually is capable. And in my mind, that was further evidence of his, at least his real pull toward trying to put his life in the right direction. But look, none of this is, you do it once, you get caught, you get rehabilitated, and you're off going to Harvard, right? This is always a constant struggle with trying to keep kids on the right track. And with respect to worrying about committing the crimes again, certainly we do, and you don't want to see that happen. But the biggest worry is, we can rehabilitate the kids, but we really can't rehabilitate the home that they're going back to. And so oftentimes when you see a kid like Rodrick, now luckily in Rodrick's case, his mother was supportive of him during this process, and I think provided some of the tough love that was necessary to help him out. In a lot of cases, as you know, we don't have that support structure. So the real fear in many of these cases, and I'm sure some will talk about, is that when we do what we do in juvenile court, we put them back in a situation that leads them right back to the reasons that brought them here in the first place.
Right. We've had several viewers comment on some of our videos that feature you representing kids in court, how much they appreciate you taking the time to represent these kids. Obviously, you were doing so pro bono. You were not charging the families at the time. You were working through the courts as their public defender. And there seemed to be a real, people were grateful that there were people like you who were willing to represent kids like Rodrick and so many others. Have you always had a passion for this, or what led you to want to do that kind of work? Juveniles are different than, the adult criminal justice system.
Yeah, and maybe part of my, success I've had in defending juveniles is that I've never defended adults. My primary practice is a civil trial lawyer. So, my job through my private practice really is standing up for the little guy and trying to make sure that there's justice for, whatever circumstances they found themselves in. So my approach to juvenile cases, when I first began, around the time that we were filming, it was less to do probably about passion of helping kids, and more to do about doing good work with what I was asked to do. And that really meant not just treating these kids as a pro bono case and another number that's kind of coming through the system, but treating each one like a client, like an individual, and doing my best to make sure that they get justice for the situation that they're in. So then as time goes on, obviously you really develop more of a passion for it, right? You develop it through the experience of doing it, where it really becomes something that you then you seek out and you want to continue doing good for them. But at the beginning, it really was just a desire to do good work and help these kids out.
From what we can tell, Rodrick hasn't been back in the system. Oftentimes it's hard for us to find out where the kids are because juvenile cases, unlike adult cases, aren't made public. But we haven't been able to find any information indicating that he has been back in the system, which is always heartening for us to hear. Do you know if that's the case? Have you heard any follow-up information on Rod?
Yeah, as far as I could tell, and I've tried to look as well, it sounds like, what we know about Rodrick is that we don't know anything about Rodrick, which is probably a good thing in this scenario. I hold out hope that he seemed, when we last heard from him, that his all the pieces were in place for him. He was at the right age. Again, he didn't have a family problem like we see. It was really a problem with his own choices. So with the help of the court, with the help then hopefully of his family, that once he went home, he was able to straighten things out. So.